Kenzo's quick thinking. A long time ago, on a small island of Sanriku, Japan, lived a 10-year-old boy named Kenzo. He came from a community of farmers that grew and sold rice crops for a living. Kenzo's parents spent most of their time in the fields, leaving Kenzo's grandfather to take care of him. Kenzo's grandfather was a wise man. However, his stories of wisdom would often put little Kenzo to sleep. The boy never valued the information that his grandfather had to share and would much rather use that time to play by the seashore with his friends. Later that year, Kenzo's grandfather passed away due to health problems related to old age. In the hope of helping Kenzo cope with the loss of a loved one, Kenzo's mother allowed him to cycle to the seashore with his friends whenever he wanted to. Time went by, and a few months later, the whole village was deep in preparation for the annual harvest festival that was to take place by the seashore. The festival celebrated the hard work that the community had put into gathering and selling their crops. Kenzo and his friends cycled up to a small hill that overlooked the seashore. Seated at the edge of the hill, Kenzo looked at the sea. He noticed that the sea had darkened and the water was slowly moving backwards. His best friend Akira clapped his hands as if he had just seen a magic trick and told the group that the part of the seashore that had newly surfaced would be a great place for them to play football. As the boys got up and prepared to rush down the hill, they realized that Kenzo was deep in thought. The sight of the water receding had left Kenzo thinking about a story that his grandfather had told him. However, as much as he tried, he could not completely remember what the story was about. Kenzo's friends grew impatient and decided to leave him on his own. They rode down the hill on their cycles and ran towards the shore. Suddenly, Kenzo remembered something important from the story. His grandfather had told him that when the water from the sea takes a step back, then we should take 10 steps back. The rolling back of the sea was a sign of a tsunami waiting to hit the shore. Kenzo shouted, "Oh no! Oh no!" However, by then, his friends and a few villagers were all walking towards this newfound ground without realizing what was about to come next. He needed to grab their attention and get them away from the seashore. He shouted from the hill, "Get back! Get back!" But nobody paid attention to him. One of the villagers thought that the land was a gift from God for the large quantity of crops they had harvested, and began to play a beat on the drum he had brought to the festival. Kenzo heard the beat and thought of a plan. He lit a stick on fire and began to sing to the beat. "You better run up to this hill, or your precious rice crops I shall kill. Hurry, oh hurry, I'm not a liar. I shall light your crops on fire." The smiles on the faces of the villagers dropped as soon as they heard him sing. Like a swarm of ants, the villagers began to run towards Kenzo. The boy quickly picked up his cycle, fastened the stick to his left handle, and began pedaling towards the rice crops. Soon the whole village was running up the hill trying to catch Kenzo. One of the villagers finally managed to pull his collar and yank him off his cycle. Kenzo shut his eyes out of fear when suddenly the villagers noticed a gigantic wave swiftly moving towards them. "Oh no, a tsunami!" shouted Akira as the wave covered the entire seashore and hit against the edge of the hill. That was when the villagers realized what Kenzo had done. If they had remained on the shore, the tsunami would have engulfed them. They lifted Kenzo up and praised him for his quick wit and wisdom. Kenzo smiled and looked up at the sky. He knew that his grandfather would have been proud of him. From that day onwards, he kept a diary to write down his grandfather's words of wisdom so that he would never forget them again.